Well, AI is super hot.
Super hot.
We're going to talk about that a lot, right?
I want to be the government.
I think Elon is just upset that he is not on the forefront.
I know AI is already integrated into almost everything we use.
How the guy like you ends up amongst the crypto bros? Chicago Blackhawks do not know about that.
My business is not sexy. And he laughed and laughed and laughed.
That's a good job, huh?
Right? AI, it's a much more enterprise.
But it's not enough. Like, crypto is not a religion.
When people ask me what I do, I tell them I chop wood every single day. Sums of capital are much larger. The technical requirements are much more complex.
Aren't we in the moment of the Terminator? Hello, everyone. This is Sergey Gerasimovich, and you're here at my podcast about business, Bitcoin, investments, and everything else. Today, we're talking to a special guest, good friend of mine, Taras Kulyk. Taras, welcome to the show.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah, I'm glad that you made it today. I know you're in Nashville. It's busy.
Yep.
Bitcoin conference. Trump is coming. Tons of people. You on every possible panel out there. Thank you for coming again.
Of course, of course.
I know you. We've been in the business probably for 7 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I've known you since the time.
Almost 8.
Yeah, you've been in Core Scientific. That's, I think, when we met.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, there's another person with Ukrainian heritage in crypto. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
Thanks God.
Yeah.
I was very happy about that. Then you went and did many different things. So I know a lot. We've been doing business together as well. Can you tell a little bit to our audience, what do you actually?
I'm now the CEO, co-founder of Synteq Digital. It's a wholesale hardware services support company for the data center ecosystem with a focus traditionally on digital mining, but now also HPC and AI data centers.
Well, AI is super hot.
Super
right?
hot.
We're going to talk about that a lot, right?
Sounds good.
I want to show you a picture that I actually made a meme of in March of 2024 before halving. That's what I
Yep.
did.
Yeah.
So my tweet was basically, will the Bitcoin miners going to look at AI and not after halving? Apparently they are. So you are one of the companies that I'm familiar with and I can talk to who started making the shift. So tell me why. Why are you getting into AI equipment, in HPC equipment? You've been one of the largest distributors of Bitcoin mining equipment, and now a big shift.
Yeah, I mean, in Canada, there's this saying that you skate to where the puck is going, not to where it's been.
Yeah.
And really, there is a evolution that's ongoing within the data center ecosystem. And, you know, this all starts from my time at Core Scientific, where a lot of people think that Core pivoted to be an AI company because it's cool. Well, as the cliche saying goes, Core was cool before it was cool. When I was at Core, one of my accounts that I covered as head of revenue there was a small company at the time that was focused on GPUs called CoreWeave Technologies.
Well, everyone knows about them now.
So I was their relationship manager, spent a lot of time with those guys, and they had built some of the best middleware software for GPU load management for, at the time, it was ETH hash and Ethereum mining and obviously derivatives of ETH hash, et cetera. But Core actually had developed the capacity to host Nvidia chips at the time before anybody else was even looking at it. Unfortunately, they sold off their AI business at the wrong time before the market really took off.
Yeah.
Pre-bankruptcy, obviously, but now they have the bones to actually build up properly. And to me, the reason I bring this up, not to go into a story about Core Scientific, but I think that the leadership at Core that founded the company that eventually stepped back was onto something. And I think that is really where the technology is going, is this intersection of digital mining as well as HPC AI data center infrastructure. And so as somebody who's working with some of the largest folks in the public side with digital mining, we've had lots of conversations where they're now focusing capital expenditures to pivot or expand their opportunities within HPC and AI. So for me, it was organic demand from our existing client ecosystem, but also kind of reading the monkey guts or tea leaves or whatever you want to call it, where I fundamentally believe that power generation, Bitcoin mining, and large-scale data centers will all converge over the next 5 to 10 years. And so the company that I built, Sunnyside Digital, the reason we actually merged or created a new co with Cryptech is because I needed to get to scale faster and be able to service the large scale market sooner than later.
No, that's a fascinating story. And I think you announced the Synteq literally like 2 days ago, right?
Yeah, we had the full press release 2 days ago. We did a soft launch in Miami at Mining Disrupt, where I got a bit teary-eyed when I realized at the beginning of my presentation that it was the last time I'd be wearing my Sunnyside shirt after building the company up for almost 3 years from a side hustle to a full company with 16, 17 people. But yeah, it's very fresh. We finally closed. It's been over a year in the making. And Joe and Patty, the two co-founders of Cryptech, I think they're some of the most reliable professional folks I've met in the secondary market for hardware. And a lot of our values align more than I ever thought possible. I've had a lot of people ask, why would I give up Sunnyside, where I was 100% shareholder, to work with somebody else? And to me, it's about speed to market, scale, and working with people that you trust to build something that's even more valuable than a company I was managing on my own.
May I ask you something? So you're a very educated person. You hold an MBA. You've been in investment banking. How the guy like you ends up amongst the crypto bros? How did you learn about Bitcoin? Why did you get into this at all?
Well, in addition to the MBA, I have a law degree as well.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not a vegan where I kind of
in addition
tell
to that,
people,
right?
Just so that you know. But the reason I bring it up is because I had a lot of pain and time for grad school. And I realized I didn't want to be a lawyer, and banking was really where I wanted to hone my skills from a business and financial modeling perspective. But after I put in 3 and a bit years in investment banking, I saw where the road led, and I really wanted to go into industry and build things versus just provide, not just, but I have a lot of respect for investment bankers and capital markets participants, but I want to actually build stuff, be creative, fail, but fundamentally spend the hours I have on this planet building stuff.
Right.
And I worked for a company called Decentral out of Toronto, where we had the Jack's Hot Wallet, helped build up that company. And then really I got recruited into the data center ecosystem. So that's how I got in, is I was identified by a recruitment agency that I had capital markets, legal, and then some crypto experience in 2017. And it was really a serendipitous moment where they're like, we need somebody with all three, and he's the only guy on LinkedIn that we could find that is within our network to be able to hire. That's how I got into mining.
So school, investment banking, crypto, business development, then new venture, then another venture, now AI.
Well, AI is part of the venture.
Right. So may I ask you this? So I like your comparison about where the puck is going. I know you guys say that in Canada because in Chicago, Blackhawks do not know about that. But that's where I'm currently from, right? So AI is sexy because you can make a lot of money on it, right? But what is AI for you in general? Do you use it? Do you think you will use it?
I use it already.
You do. So where do you use it? Like, what is the use cases do you think going to be real in life that you already use and may be using very soon?
Well, I use it already in language construction, in drafting content that's required for a business purpose.
Okay.
So I basically create a set of prompts, and then it spits out a general draft of information that I then go in and refine and add my own flavor to it. So really, it just saves me time and a lot of drafting of language. But I know AI is already integrated into almost everything we use, like your directions on Google Maps, your TikTok filters,
right?
Everything to like medical diagnostics. It's not a magic box that just sits there and you make money off of.
Yeah.
It's actually a useful tool that people are using every single day of their lives, even if they don't know that they are.
Yeah. So it's like basically absent-mindedly, like one day I just opened WhatsApp and now it says Meta AI. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And then another day I start typing something, it gives you prompts, and you get used to it really fast, right?
Correct.
Same on Google.
Gets used to you.
Yeah,
very
exactly.
fast.
Same on Google. Before you just Google search, now it just gives you some more information, the synopsis of information.
Correct.
It's going to be very fascinating. But like a shift, I think AI, like, they're going to talk about AI, that it's huge change in the development of the whole society, right? But you've been in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is more like a community-oriented product, right? Or technology. AI is more like a society-level product. What are the differences of these two businesses you can see? Like how different it is for you to work with the people who buy AI equipment versus with the people who are buying Bitcoin mining equipment? Are they the same people? Are they just looking for money to be made, or they have different values?
That's a great question. I think you could break it down to the sales cycle on digital mining, Bitcoin mining. The sales cycle is relatively short. People know what they want. They've got capital to expend, and you can actually close a deal. The fastest I've ever closed a deal is like 20 minutes from like origination to verbal commitment to paperwork being signed to funds being delivered. AI, it's a much more enterprise sales cycle where the sums of capital are much larger, the technical requirements are much more complex, and the type of people are not more refined, but I guess they're much more enterprise focused, meaning it's not guys that are afraid Big Brother's watching them. It's folks that have been in the telecommunications industry for the past 3 decades that have usually gray hair. I'm talking about the infrastructure and hardware side, right?
Yeah, of course.
The development side is completely different, right? That's like 12-year-old, 13, 16, 19, 20-year-olds creating interesting AI products. But on the infrastructure side, it's really the traditional telco data center folks that have moved over that are now incorporating HPC and AI into their product models as a general. But then you've got the folks like CoreWeave, which are scrappier or more nimble because they came out of the
Crypto
digital mining ecosystem where they were scrappy, they've almost failed, but then they're able to utilize their lessons learned and lessons failed in a way where they now become the number one operator of HPC and AI hardware globally.
So do you think the Bitcoin miners gonna abandon the idea of Bitcoin being like big technology, freedom technology? Because a lot of that is run on idea. Yes, of course, Bitcoin mining makes money, but a lot of folks just love it. They have Bitcoin maxes and they would never go into anything else. Do you think still the company is going to transition away from Bitcoin mining to AI, same like what you did?
Well, I'm not transitioning away from Bitcoin mining.
Diversifying more,
we're
right?
Diversifying to have ideally a 50-50 revenue stream so that we are diversified as a business, but hardware and data center focused. That's a good question. I think there are folks that are going to stay as pure plays in the capital markets speak, where they're only going to be doing Bitcoin mining or digital mining of whatever altcoins they're focused on. And then there's going to be others like the core scientifics that really look at it as a diversified revenue play to make sure that doesn't matter where the market cycle is on Bitcoin, they've got a great revenue stream on the side, utilize the ultimate resources and infrastructure they've already spent the CapEx on. So I think there will be pure plays, purists, maxis, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But then I think there's going to be more balanced folks as well, and relatively conservative still. Ex-wanker banker. Sorry, guys. I play on the conservative side. So I think that a diversified revenue stream for me is probably more interesting for the future because I got a kid, I got a wife, like I want to make sure that while I'm swinging for the fences on the Bitcoin mining side, I've got not a hedge, but certainly a diversification of how we're growing the business.
So you look into that more from a business perspective versus a belief, right?
Correct.
Because a lot of crypto companies are built on belief.
Correct.
Some like token insurance, they just issue a token and it's like, oh, this is going to be a great thing because we believe in it, right?
Correct.
But it's not enough. Like crypto is not a religion.
When people ask me what I do, I tell them I chop wood every single day. My business is not sexy.
I know. Oh, believe me, I know.
It's messy. It's dirty. We work with like traditional trades folks, like my old man, like my dad.
Yeah.
They get dirty. They pull cables. They deal with like electrical infrastructure. It's not sexy. We're not the guys sitting at computers.
Yeah, I know.
Making something go from 0 to 1 billion. No, and to me, it's more real when it's tangible.
100%. And that's what I appreciate in what you just said, because the crypto bro culture that I was talking about is just like pump and dump. We bought a Bitcoin, it's going to go to $1 million, and then it's going to go to 10. And that's all fun. But in reality, what you and us been doing is just literally doing dirty work, building physical infrastructure, transformers, cables, shipping stuff, logistics, the logistical nightmare you work with, just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
It's just mind-blowing to me. It's just crazy. Well, so I want to stay on this topic of equipment because it's so interesting to see that how the crypto mining equipment has been developing, and now we have this AI equipment developing as well, which is also very power hungry.
Increasingly so.
Increasingly so, yes. And so as far as I know, Nvidia basically controls the market. They have 95%.
They're the Bitmain.
Right. We'll talk about Bitmain too. So 95% of 90 or 95%.
I think it's 90. I don't think it's quite 95.
Let the audience fact check me in the comments. But it's 90 and 95% of market on chips. And now what, right? Like they're three point something trillion dollars company before today. NASDAQ sold off crazily today. Aren't we in the moment of the Terminator movie? Are we not in Skynet? Yeah.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think the level of AI that we're experiencing right now is not as sophisticated as people think.
Yeah. So it's still chatbots? That's what it is?
I think that there's a level of sophistication that people like to pitch versus what the actual reality of it is. Mm-hmm. I think within the next 5 to 10 years, we could be at the point where a Skynet type technology emerges from some of the innovation that's going on.
Yeah.
And that's why I do align with some of the issues that have been identified by folks like Elon, by folks like Jeffrey Hinton out of Toronto, that are really pushing towards having not regulation, but a global framework towards the development of AI technology.
Well, I have a comment on Elon, really quick one. I think Elon's just upset that he is not on the forefront. And he's building huge data centers himself right now.
Of course.
So, that's a separate conversation because he was one of the co-founders and investors in OpenAI.
Yes, which he had a very interesting podcast with Jordan Peterson on the other night.
Yeah, I haven't checked that one yet, but I've seen some snippets from that, and it's super cool. Well, so no Skynet yet, no Terminator movie, but power. Electricity, power generation. I know you've spent some time in your career in power generation.
That's right.
So you know about it more than a regular person.
A little bit.
We talked 5 years ago, the environmentalists were talking that Bitcoin going to suck out all the energy in the world.
Yeah, of course they were. I know.
Right? And Bitcoin...
Greenpeace making some cool art.
Yeah. Bitcoin is not the good technology for money transmitting. Now we have AI that consumes more power than Bitcoin, way more, right?
Yes.
But it cures cancer, so no one talks about it. So how do you see the energy markets developing and changing, specifically in power generation in the next 5 years? Because with this speed of investments into AI, we're really not going to have enough power generation, at least in America.
Yeah, this is a really good topic to cover. I think right now there is a land grab. Some would call it an arms race towards at-scale, stable power generation, or at least access to it. Mm-hmm. And certainly that's on the minds of a lot of the large-scale digital miners, mm-hmm. because they're competing with folks that are building HPC AI. And one of the key issues they have to consider is cost of capital. When you're a Google, a Microsoft, an AWS, you can access debt capital markets in the low to mid-single digits. Public digital miner raising debt is going to be at least the teens. Yeah. And on a cost of capital basis, it's not even a fair fight, right? So
and the scale.
Well, and the scale for sure as well, but the scale kind of is part pari passu or part and parcel with the actual cost of capital itself. And one of the things that we were wanting to do when we set up the Bitcoin Mining Council is try to get the actual data to deflate a lot of these environmental lies that people were putting out about Bitcoin mining.
Yes.
And we've, I think, successfully done so. In fact, Cambridge has now taken on the reins of the survey to continue on checking the pulse of the Bitcoin mining market, figuring out what the power mix is. And, funny story is their conclusions are essentially the same as the Bitcoin Mining Council's conclusion, is that most of the power that energizes Bitcoin mining facilities is renewable, because we need the cheapest power. We don't care how much uptime, it's just the cheapest power, right? Whereas if you're an HPC AI data center, you need the most stable power.
So I'm sorry for interrupting you, but that stable power is very limited.
Exactly.
Right? We shut down coal power plants.
That's stress on the utility grids.
Yeah, stress on nuclear. We're shutting down natural gas power plants as well. We do not build nuclear power plants in North America
No more
at all.
hydro.
No more hydro. So where are we going to get that power from? Are we going to put the coal power plants back? I don't think that's going to ever happen. Like, what is your thinking with using your background in power generation? Like, do you think we're going to go back to natural gas?
I think natural gas is going to be the short-term solution.
Mm-hmm.
I think clean coal is going to be an interesting solution.
Wow, you think that?
Yeah, just to be able to build a power plant quickly. The new generation of coal plants are actually anywhere from 30 to 50% efficient, which is like multiples higher than it used to be. But what I think is the future is really nuclear power. I think nuclear power is going to be what humanity really uses going into the future. I think what happened in Germany, where they shut down their nuclear facilities, was an insane political issue that happened because of, I'll be honest, likely Russian influence into the power grid
so
to
they
be
can
able to support their own oil.
Gas, exactly. Natural gas pipe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's all a political game, but I think people are seeing past it. And really the long-term solution for power generation is going to be nuclear. Maybe SMRs, small, medium nuclear reactors, but likely scale nuclear reactors globally. And then eventually, with AI, there's actually been tons of innovation and new achievements in stable fusion reactors, which obviously it's utilizing the power of the sun, deuterium meshing or whatever the term is, but being able to really produce high amounts of low-cost power, certainly centralized, but in a way that is sustainable, that doesn't create the nuclear waste that has been historically known for the old generation of nuclear plants.
It's interesting that you touched on nuclear power plants. Because I read this article in Wall Street Journal that Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI, was looking to raise trillions of dollars to invest into nuclear power plants. It's just insanity to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that hubris is a human issue that everybody experiences at one point.
Yeah.
I think a lot of his goals could be noble, and I hope that he has the right intentions. But I think that nuclear power should be raising trillions of dollars of capital so that we have stable, low-cost power globally.
I cannot agree more on that. Look, AI is still kind of a new business for you, as far as I understand. But like
5% last year.
Yeah, you're a well-known supplier of crypto mining equipment, right? You've checked your website. There are hundreds of thousands of machines that you delivered to customers all over the country and overseas.
Globally, yeah.
That's a big milestone. So I have this theory. I want to talk about this. I have this theory. I think that Bitcoin mining never going to be accepted as a mature industry in America, in North America, because the manufacturer of crypto mining equipment is not US-based. What is your thought on that?
I think the winds of change are blowing.
Okay.
I think a lot of the large-scale manufacturers are looking to diversify their global manufacturing supply chain. MicroBT's already made a public announcement that they've got limited US-based manufacturing. And I think that other major manufacturers will likely start looking at onshore options to A, reduce the tariffs, but B, also diversify where they're producing their hardware. So I think a lot of this, not NIMBYism, but national security concerns and Asia-based IP leak, hardware leaks will likely be alleviated once more onshore manufacturing happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got billions of dollars going into the TSMC fabrication facilities out of Arizona. Texas is looking at it as well. The problem is obviously cost of labor, but I think that'll be overcome as we get to more and more automation within high technology manufacturing processes.
Especially when robots going to start assembling that.
Exactly. At least certain portions of it.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and I'm glad that you believe the same, because the industry has gone so far. It's a huge industry. It's billions of dollars of equipment is purchased every year.
Of course, yeah.
And that equipment comes from, well, it's not only from China. It comes from different countries.
Malaysia,
and
Thailand,
mostly,
Indonesia.
right?
Yeah.
But like, if I were, if I were like Intel or Nvidia or any other companies, I was sitting here and I was like, it's a big market. Why? I mean, Nvidia, of course, they're huge, but Intel was looking into this. I was so upset when they dropped this program. I see you smiling, so you probably know a little bit more about that. So what are your thoughts?
I think that for some people, it's a big market. For a company like Nvidia or really Intel or IBM, it's not that big of a market.
Yeah.
I mean, the margins could be interesting, but it's not enough for them to dedicate that much capital R&D to become really competitive, especially with the lead that some of the existing manufacturers already have. Yeah, it could be viewed as a big market, but it's not that big. It's kind of like the public Bitcoin miners, like Marathon, $5-6 billion, whatever. That's like one project for a major HPC AI company. Like
True.
Google announced a single project for $5 billion. Microsoft, $4 billion, right? That's in their entire portfolio. It's just one project. And that's the entire company that are leaders in the global industry for Bitcoin mining. So I think we'll see consolidation in our space, but I think scale will continue to happen, and there will be more integration into other power generation companies. And I think over time, power generation companies will likely acquire Bitcoin mining companies for the expertise.
And AI companies will acquire power generation.
And the AI companies will acquire power generation
and that's
companies.
it. And we're done.
And then maybe we see the Terminator emerge. Right? Because then they've got the full stack.
Right. Now they have the full stack. They control Bitcoin, power, minds of the people.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Let's get from like the height from the sky. Let's just go down to earth a little bit and talk about business, right? Talk about like what you do on daily basis. About your team, with your team. I've spent some time on your website on Synteq Digital. If you guys haven't checked it yet, it's Synteq Digital. And it's fascinating that the values you have there, the core values and story. And another thing that attracted my attention was the team. Specifically that you have more than half of your team are women.
Yeah.
And it's like in tech industry in general, that's unknown and unheard of. But in Bitcoin, that's basically very unique. Like, where did you find all those people?
Yeah, so, I mean, on the sunny side portion of the new company, 3 of the professionals that we work with are actually sisters of mine.
Oh, so you brought them into the crypto industry first, right?
The issue has been, for me, hiring new folks, I need to trust somebody. They need to have the skill set. And maybe they have the existing industry knowledge, but trust and skill set and being able to train are the 2 most important, with trust being by far the number 1.
Yes.
I think you can train somebody into the ecosystem pretty quickly if they have the hardware and the horsepower to actually learn quickly. And I know Joe, who hired Patty, his sister, to be his partner in Cryptech, felt the same way. And really, when we were in the early stages of discussion, we had multiple conversations as to how it all happened. And just the alignment of trust, skill set, and then teaching the industry was basically part like one-on-one, which was amazing. And after that, I mean, women are hardworking, definitely really good to work with. And I think it gave us an edge because a lot of other companies, it's a bunch of guys sitting around the table. Crypto bros. Right?
Yeah, and it's so hard to kind of kill that mentality, right? The women are afraid to work in this industry in general because they're like, those guys are crazy, right? They go to those conferences, go crazy, but you actually changing the whole way how these things are going to be in the future.
We're trying to. I mean, I grew up with 6 sisters.
Oh, wow.
I'm the only boy of 7. I have 2 half sisters.
Are you in the middle or are you the last one?
I have 2 older sisters in Europe, and then 2 older in Canada, 2 younger. So I grew up in the middle, but for me, it's just a natural kind of way I've always lived my life.
That's very cool. That's very cool. And I mean, your team is very professional. I hope we're going to see them more and more in action.
Absolutely.
I worked with your team, and I've had
We still do.
Yeah. Oh, yes, we still do, and the experience was great.
Appreciate that.
And that's fascinating. So I hope more and more businesses gonna follow your lead, not only in crypto but in general, in tech, and invite more women to explore this industry and just open their mind and not be afraid. So someone has to take their hand and just show them, hey, look, this is not scary. Those crypto bros, for example, are not that bad to work with. Well, so speaking on being still on the women's topic, you're a married man.
Yep.
You have a kid.
I have a daughter. Yeah.
You have a daughter, so you have more women in your life.
Exactly.
That's great. That's
female dog. I mean, it's just
that's amazing. That's amazing. And I know you've been traveling all over the place. You've started multiple companies. You worked very hard, and I know it's not easy. So, what does your wife say?
Happy wife, happy life. The life of a sky gypsy is not easy, especially for the family.
Yes.
So I try to be as nice as possible, and I mean, another reason why I think it made sense for me to give up 50% equity in what I was doing is so that I have people I can trust and slowly replace myself over time for certain things. Family is extremely important. I've been pulling myself back from the full conference circuit. I mean, I still attend a lot of conferences, and I will continue because the business requires it. But I am pulling myself away from non-essential, where I can send folks I trust to be able to represent the Synteq brand properly.
Yeah.
Because I have to. I mean, as one scales themselves in a professional setting, you have to learn that, yes, you're special, you're a special snowflake, but you need to hire the people you can trust to replace yourself over time so that you give them the opportunity to build their own reputation, their own network, and you need to focus on the things you can. And family is number one for that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it's stories that usually are not covered that much, that a lot of male business people, they're on the road, they're running big companies, and everyone sees the success. But there is someone at home or at the other job waiting for the husband or for the wife, and it's tough. It's tough to kind of go through all of that, especially business. It's not all the time fun. It's ups and downs, especially crypto, and now AI too. Like, those things are not stable.
No, and I mean, a lot of our business is global, so I'll be up till like 3, 4 a.m. haggling with some folks in Asia, dealing with folks in Africa, right? So my schedule is insane, and I need to have a partner that gets it, and luckily she gets it. We went to law school together, and she was there during the investment banking days where I was
so
working.
She knows the whole development stage.
For 3 years after grad school, we barely saw each other. She would see my shoes move, and I would kind of move my shoes as like I was going to work and she was going to her work in Toronto at Bay Street. So we've been through a lot, and now we're figuring a way to make it work. I mean, that's all you can do.
Taras, that's a great story. Well, thank you for sharing it. Look, I know we don't have a lot of time today.
Yeah,
I have a couple more short questions that it's basically yes or no.
Okay.
Or don't spend too much time on answering them.
Okay.
That's all right. What was your dream job when you were a kid?
My dream job when I was a kid, my dad still kind of chuckles about it, is I think I was like 5 years old, and he's like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I looked at my dad.
Were you 5?
Well, yeah, when I was 5, and I looked at him and I told him, "Dada, Tato, I want to be the government." And he laughed and laughed and laughed.
That's a good job, huh?
Because we'd been exposed to folks in politics. We were close friends with Bob Ray and his kids who went to school with us. And we had been exposed to the political process earlier, and to me, it was engaging. It's probably one of the reasons why I went to law school, to understand legal construction and common law.
Yeah.
But that's what it was when I was a kid.
That's very cool.
Yeah. See, and you laughed.
I mean, that's amazing. I want to be a government. I like that job. Time for one more question. So what would you recommend to a younger generation of people there who are thinking about entrepreneurship, who are thinking to start a company?
Do it. Absolutely do it. Being an office dweller, thinking a 9 to 5 is a comfortable, warm blanket is the opposite of what reality is. The only way to build wealth in this world is being your own boss and starting a company, taking a risk. because the greatest risk is not actually doing that and being an employee for your entire life. Thinking that it's a job security is real, it's not real. Look at how many industries go through incredible upheaval. The only thing that's real is what you do and spend your time on, and that should be building a business for personal development, but also for your future and for your family's future.
These are words of wisdom.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Thank you everyone for listening and tuning in. We're going to have more stories like this. Subscribe to our channel and leave the comments below. Stay tuned.